6 p.m. Pakistan Standard Time. Assalamu alaikum. This is Radio Pakistan. The news read by Daman Zaman. The headlines. The finance minister says the government has introduced progressive taxes in the federal budget to make the economy sustainable. The Punjab budget for the next fiscal year with a total outlay of 5,446 billion rupees was presented in the Provincial Assembly in Lahore today. Pakistan has urged the global conscience to force Israel towards an immediate and unconditional ceasefire in Gaza. 30 Palestinians were martyred in the unabated Israeli strikes across the besieged Gaza during the last 24 hours. In the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, the All Parties Hurriyat Conference has expressed grave concern over the ongoing killings and arrests. In the ICC T20 World Cup 2024, Bangladesh will take on the Netherlands at Kingston today. And now the news in detail. The Finance Minister Mohammad Aurangzeb says the government has introduced progressive taxes in the federal budget to tax those having high income. Addressing the post-budget news conference in Islamabad today, he said implementing a progressive income tax regime and eliminating non-filers are key points emphasized in the budget. Reiterating the pressing need for reforms and broadening of tax base, the Minister for Finance asserted that below 10% tax to GDP ratio is not sustainable. He said we have to take it up to 13% in the next 3 years gradually. He also underscored the importance of doing away with undocumented economy with end-to-end digitization to reduce human intervention and make the tax mechanism transparent and mitigate the chances of corruption. The minister said the country needs to move in the direction of broadening the tax base to make the economy sustainable, and it is imperative to bring into the tax net the retailers and wholesalers to share the burden. He said point of sale scheme would be relaunched to do away with cash transactions. The Punjab budget with a total outlay of 5,446 billion rupees was presented in the Provincial Assembly in Lahore this afternoon. The Punjab Finance Minister Mushtaba Shujaur Rahman, unveiling the budgetary proposals, said no new tax has been levied in the budget for the next fiscal year. He said revenue collection will be increased by 53% through other means. Mushtaba Shujaur Rahman said the next annual development program will be of 842 billion rupees. He said 77 new mega projects will be part of the annual development program. Mushtaba Shujaur Rahman said the revenue target for the next fiscal year will be 960 billion rupees. Earlier, the Punjab Cabinet approved the tax-free budget for the next fiscal year at a meeting presided over by the Chief Minister, Mariam Nawaz, in Lahore today. Addressing the meeting, the Chief Minister said all-out efforts will be made for the fulfillment of our promises made with the people. The Prime Minister Mohammad Shahbaz Sharif has decided to review the progress of the task management system on a daily basis. Chairing a meeting in Islamabad today, he directed the secretaries and heads of all the federal ministries and departments to use the task management system themselves. The Prime Minister was informed that mobile application of task management system has also been developed. The Minister for Information and Broadcasting, Ataullah Tadar, says the government is focusing on the education sector to exploit the full potential of the youth in various fields, especially information technology. Addressing an education expo in Islamabad today, he said the budget allocated for education has been enhanced and IT facilities will be provided in schools. He said a framework agreement was signed during Prime Minister's visit to China, under which a Chinese tech company will provide IT training to 200,000 Pakistani youth every year. The Information Minister said Pakistan can carve out its rightful place in the Comity of Nations by equipping the youth with the latest education. Ataullah Tadar said the country's economic indicators are improving And world institutions are also acknowledging the fact. This is Radio Pakistan. Pakistan has reiterated its call for holding Israel accountable for its grave war crimes in Gaza. The Foreign Office spokesperson Mumtaz Zara Baloch at the weekly press briefing in Islamabad today urged the global conscience to force Israel towards an immediate and unconditional ceasefire. She said Pakistan notes positively the adoption of the United Nations Security Council resolution and expresses the hope for a permanent and sustainable ceasefire and end to the suffering of the Palestinians in Gaza. She said Pakistan welcomes the June 12th report of the United Nations Independent International Commission of Inquiry on the occupied Palestinian territory, including East Jerusalem and Israel. The spokesperson said the findings of the Commission of the Inquiry have confirmed reports of Israeli war crimes, including starvation as a method of warfare. Calling this week important for Pakistan's diplomacy for Palestine, she apprised the media of the Deputy Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister Mohammad Sagdar's visit to Turkey to attend the extraordinary meeting of the D8 Council of Foreign Ministers. The Deputy Prime Minister also attended the high-level conference on Gaza held in Amman, Jordan, where he condemned the illegal acts of the occupation authorities for violating the international law. 30 Palestinians were martyred and 105 others injured in the unabated Israeli strikes across Gaza during the last 24 hours. According to Gaza's health ministry, the martyrdom toll of Palestinians in the Israeli aggression has risen to 37,232 since October 7 last year. The United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees has said over 117 million people were forcibly displaced within their own countries due to conflict or other crises during the last year. The report said almost 72% of the refugees came from Afghanistan, Syria, Venezuela, Ukraine, and Palestine. It further said forced displacements continued to rise in the first 4 months of this year and is likely to surpass 120 million. The All Parties Hurriyat Conference has expressed grave concern over the ongoing killings and arrests in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. The APHC spokesman, Advocate Abdur Rashid Minhas, in a statement issued in Srinagar, said India's military might and anti-Kashmir policies have failed to resolve the dispute and reiterated that Kashmiris are willing to die for freedom but not surrender. He urged the international community to intervene and stop the killings of innocent Kashmiris. The Jammu and Kashmir Democratic Freedom Party also called on India to create a conducive environment for a peaceful resolution rather than spreading falsehoods and blaming neighbors. Meanwhile, in a crackdown on pro-freedom activities, the Indian forces launched a massive operation across the Jammu region, arresting several people, mostly Muslims. The joint operation by the Indian Army, Police and paramilitary forces targeted various areas in Doda, Katwa, Raisi, Rajouri, Poonch and Samba districts. On the other hand, the chief of the Jammu and Kashmir National Conference, Farooq Abdullah, has called on the Indian government to resume talks with Pakistan to resolve the outstanding issues. Meanwhile, political analysts have slammed India's decision to order television channels to show the disputed territory of Jammu and Kashmir as part of the Indian map, in clear violation of the United Nations Security Council resolutions. They said the United Nations recognizes the entire state of Jammu and Kashmir, including Ladakh, as a disputed territory, making India's move a brazen defiance of international law. A 3-day summit of G7 countries kicked off in Puglia, Italy today. Representatives from Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the United Kingdom, and the United States will discuss wars in Gaza and Ukraine. And now cricket. In the ICC T20 World Cup 2024, Bangladesh will face the Netherlands at Kingston today. The match will start at 7:30 p.m. Pakistan Standard Time. And finally, the weather. Mainly hot and dry weather is expected in most parts of the country, while very hot in central and southern parts during the next 12 hours. However, rain, windstorm, and thunderstorm is expected at isolated places in Gilgit-Baltistan, Kashmir, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Islamabad, and Upper Punjab. And that is the end of this news bulletin. For more news and analyses, log on to our website, radio.gov.pk, and you can also watch the live video streaming of our bulletins on the link, facebook.com/Radio Pakistan News Official.